Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? That's a bit big, isn't it? Let's, Bosh, where's that going? Bosh, there we are. Happy days. How are you? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It is the 24th of February, 2024. Huzzah. I've got my Sports Direct mug here, all the way from Blighty. Actually, this is my missus. She gets pissed off when I steal her mug, but she's not here because we've been tidying the house up. So I'm indulging myself with a Sports Direct mug. If I spill it, obviously I'll flood the fucking living room. But that's why they're so good. And I assure you, I haven't been paid by Mike Ashley for this broadcast. Any irate Geordies in the chat pissed off because I'm sporting a Sports Direct mug? Probably. You hate him up there, don't you? Who's in? Ragnar's in now then. Mark, Two-Tone, Geordie. Davey 1602, Grumpy Sacker, Harold Stewart, Willie, not in cards anymore, Baz Kluchik, Angela Light Gamer, LXP. Crikey, there's loads of you. Benny Ramon, Sid Cannon, Online Killer, Denise, Pylord, all the important people in green, Frankie Della, Alligator Pie, hello, nice to see you again up in Canada. Who else? Richard Erickson, Mark Stelling, Denise now then, and Davey Petts. Right then, before we start on the news, let's have a laugh, because I've just noticed Joey Barton's posting, and that always makes me fucking giggle. So let's see. I haven't watched this. I just literally put it straight up. Let's see what this silly fucking mayor had to say, shall we?
And of course, Haaland, the man you mentioned, he of course is a threat. I would say, I think he might be missing Grealish a little bit. And I think it's massive for Man City to have Jack Grealish back on the bench, because I think in the final third, what he brings to that team is that kind of difference in creativity. And I think as soon as Jack Grealish gets back on the pitch, I think this man here, Haaland, will start. You know, he's had a little bit of criticism, but I think not much. But you know, there's been questions because of the chances he's missed. He has still been scoring, but I think when Grealish comes back into the side, we'll see even more from that man.
It's all relative, isn't it?
And of
Who
course,
let the
Haaland,
Cabbage Patch
the man
Kid into the
you
studio?
mentioned.
She does look a bit like a Cabbage Patch Kid.
But I think.
Fuck me. Yeah, Haaland's missing Grealish. This is more of that delusion that we have where we try and tell ourselves that the English players are fucking better than they actually are. Not to go into a fucking rant about football, but come on, like, what's Grealish? Overrated, as usual. I'll tell you what, I will have a rant about football, because this is something that is really linked to the politics that we all share, right? I always watch old matches on YouTube when I'm bored. Borough, obviously, because they used to be good. Sort of 1993 or something to 2003. Let's say that sort of 10-year period. It was like a glory day, that, for Borough lads. And I know you all like to whinge and go, hey, fucking rugby's better, football's for fannies. But when you're from Middlesbrough, there's nothing else. The only thing that shitty little town was ever any good at was football. It's like a religion. Everybody goes to the Riverside. And it was a big deal. So when we signed Janino, the whole school emptied. Nobody went to school in Middlesbrough when we signed Janino. It wasn't even a game. He was just brought out at the stadium. And there was about 20,000 people there. Turn it up a bit. Let me have a look, see if I can do the volume. Oh, there we go. There is a mic volume. Mic 120. Is that any better? Right. Hopefully that's a bit louder. It was the glory days back then. Isn't it? That is a Cabbage Patch Kid, definitely. They were the glory days then. And I was talking with my mates what would you call it? If somebody who worked for the government was to find our WhatsApp group, I think that they would be forced to conclude, what would they call it? Probably racist. That's right. Everything is nowadays, so I mean, it's not really a damning indictment of me, is it? My friends and I talking about football. And he pointed out that, like, back in the day, it was actually football. And then I've told you lot several times about this. Better not perfect. All right, I'll put up another 5. But I'll put up another bit. I've told you lot this back in the day. I came with this realisation that we weren't really playing football anymore when I was at a Borough match and we had a player called Justin Hoyt. And the reason his name sticks in my mind is because he used to play in Ireland And apparently all the fans used to call him Justin Shite because he was shite. In Borough, we say shite. Justin Shite. And when I went to see, I had like a season ticket for years. And when I used to watch Justin Shite play, I was astounded at how bad he was. I used to tell all my mates in the pub, like, there is no way that we scout players when we've bought people like Justin Shite. Like, he was shocking. And my dad pointed out, he said, because they're not footballers, they're athletes. They changed football in the noughties and they turned it into, how can I use the politically correct? My dad's obviously just full-blown bigotry from Bootneck Senior. But what would I call it, which is suitable for YouTube? Black gentleman sprinting is basically how my dad sums it up. He's like, it's unbelievable how talentless the vast majority of these modern players are. Back in the day, right, you had Jan Molby, who was basically a fat knacker. You had Gaza, who was a fat knacker, but was amazing to watch. You had Janino, who was fucking superb. The best I've ever seen. I was lucky enough to have a season ticket when Janino was at the Borough. Best I've ever seen. Ever. Better than anyone. But he's not rated enough because he wasn't playing for a big club. If he was at Manchester United, they'd be writing fucking books about him. He was as good as Maradona. That's how good Janino was. The second he got the ball in a yard of space and he got off jogging, the whole stadium was up and he used to just run rings around everyone. He was absolutely fantastic. He was 5'5". Maradona was a little fat cheat, but he was amazing. They all had skill. Now, it's black gentlemen sprinting. That's not football. Maradona famously could do 200 kick-ups with a golf ball. That's what I remember my dad telling me when I was a bairn and we watched like when he won the World Cup against England. I was a little kid. I think I was about 6 or 7. I remember going to primary school and all the kids were saying, oh, we would have won if Maradona didn't cheat. And my dad's ever been the cynical, bad-tempered realist that I basically modelled my whole life off because apparently I'm basically a clone, according to my wife. He always said to me, like, yeah, losers come up with his excuses all the time for everything. Losers come up with excuses. England would have lost anyway. He was a little fat cheat. Obviously, I never pronounced the little fat cheat's name without pointing out that he was a little fat cheat. But they would have won anyway. Because the next fucker he scored, he just took the whole team on. Right, they were better than us because they had him. He was fantastic. Now, they wouldn't even put Maradona in the team. He wouldn't even get a start because they'd say, oh, he's a little fat dwarf, he can't be a footballer. Let's go with Justin. And Justin can sprint but do fuck all else. And we've had loads of players like that over the years. There was another one at Borough called Traore, and I think he's still trying to play football now, him fucking big, useless yard dog. I'm not going to get Ron Atkinson on anyone, but what I'm saying is, it's not football. It's not football. It's athletes chasing a ball. Basically, it's like watching 10 stray dogs chasing a fucking tennis ball around a big field. It's just bam, 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 bam. Fast, sprint, dog shit. That fucking Traore was a sprinter who was staggeringly fast, and the first time we seen him play, everyone was like, fucking hell, he's amazing, because he was off, super sprinter. Then, has to cross the ball. Fucking, I'd do a more accurate cross if I hit it with a shovel. He's just a big, useless sprinter. And that's what they did to the game. They ruined it. You don't have to have talent anymore. Maradona, Janino, Beckham. He wasn't very quick, was he? He wasn't athletic. But fucking hell, he could put a ball on your head from 90 yards away. Like, now, it's just shit. None of them. Yeah, Usain Bolt tried, didn't he? And dog shit. He wouldn't even give him a professional contract in the absolute monkey leagues in fucking Australia. Yeah, it's just athleticism. Athleticism. That one reminds me of an old primary school joke. You know, I love all that. When I talk to you lot, it reminds me, when I'm ranting, it reminds me of the primary school jokes I always liked. That was, my dad's favourite was, why do Ethiopians sleep with their fingers up the nose so no one pinches the breakfast? I think he told me that when I was about 8. And the other good ones were, what's the fastest thing in the world on 2 legs? And it was an Ethiopian chasing a chicken. And then the other good one was, have you heard about Evel Knievel's latest, most dangerous stunt? It's not jumping the Grand Canyon. He's going to motorcycle through Ethiopia with a fucking pork pie on his head. The old ones are the best, right? But anyway, Letitia was class. I don't think he was underrated, not by the people. When me and my mates were teenagers and we used to play footy all the time, everyone used to go on about Letitia. That was in Borough. So I don't think he was underrated, not by the people. He was underrated by the wankers who favour the big clubs. Because they did that to Middlesbrough. They did it to Southampton. But he wasn't underrated by the people. When we were playing, when we were like 13, if you hoofed one in from like 40 yards away, you'd be like, oh, Letis, that was Letis, that. They weren't underrated by the people. Just the wankers in the media, and that's the same now. They don't give a shite about people like Middlesbrough. And this is what I've always said. People think it's like chippy northerners being everyone's a conspiracy theorist. But basically, think about it, money makes the world go round. Why the fuck would the FA and FIFA, two nakedly corrupt organisations like everything else, why would the FA and FIFA want to see an FA Cup final comprised of Southampton versus fucking Middlesbrough? They don't want to see that. They want to see Man U, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. London clubs or giants. That's all they want to see. They don't want to see Stoke versus Hartlepool United. So it's fucking bent like everything. Borough got relegated because they got points took off them because they physically couldn't field a team because they had about 11 people out with flu. And they relegated us for it because they took points off us. And they lied about that because when everybody was shouting at that fat, bent FA cunt, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, the media down south ran all these headlines saying Borough fans were chanting Zeke Heil. Like, that was a real thing. That was in about 2000 or whatever it was. That was in the media. I remember it specifically. This is the problem. I've got a good fucking memory. This is why I'm good at ranting about politics, because I don't have to look for stuff. I just remember it. When I'm like, oh, the biggest problem in the UK is white nationalism, is it? Can't think of any. Joe Cox was a weirdo. He wasn't tied to any groups. Wasn't tied to any nationalist groups I can think of. Had nothing to do with the BNP or any of them. Oh, yeah, but the other type of terrorism. Oh, yeah, what about Charlie Hebdo? Beslan School Massacre. There's a good one I forgot about. Remember that one when they were bayoneting little Russian kids? Fucking Bataclan, London bombings, Madrid trains, Nice took a piece. I know them all. And I remember them saying that about the Borough fans. Oh, yeah, they're all chanting Zeke Heil. They were chanting 3 points because it's naked corruption, because you bent FA cunts. Look out for teams like Chelsea and Tottenham and bin the Borough. Tottenham got done for tax evasion. They didn't lose any points. Tax evasion's highly illegal. You can go to prison for it. Borough had people had the fucking flu and we got relegated and they took 3 points off us. So don't tell me I'm just a chippy northern twat. It's a fucking fact. Bent because money makes the world go around. Anyway, let's not rant about football. I've been here a quarter of an hour and that's all we've talked about. Should we do some news? There's loads of good ones to talk about this week. Loads of them. I won't get through them all because I've only ever got an hour. If I take more than an hour, my missus will whinge and say, why the fuck am I cleaning windows while you're talking shite on the internet? So, you get an hour. But this one, right? I have to talk about that because all Twitter's been about for the last 2 days is Lee Anderson. I woke up this morning and it was just him, constantly. Oh shit, has he been sacked? I knew it. Well, I knew that was going to happen. Essentially, all we've heard is Lee Anderson's not allowed to say facts. Like Sadiq Khan funnels money towards his mates in, I can't say the I word, or the M word. Christ, it's getting hard, isn't it? It's getting hard, this streaming on YouTube, when you're not allowed to use all the verboten words that the truth speakers tell us. Yeah, okay, suspended. I knew it. And he'll join Reform and he'll win. He'll win. He'll be the one that wins his seat in Macclesfield. But anyway, essentially, seeing dead girls' faces barely touched me, but you know what does anger me? Lee Anderson being rude. Think of the world we're living in. When those little kids' faces... I told you, I was angry about Safi. So angry about it, I started aggressively hammering that fucking rat. Again, I never forget anything. No one remembers his name. Philip Rutnam. Philip Rutnam, the rat that ran the Home Office. In all the years running up to that. And then got sacked by Priti Patel. And then had the brass neck to sue the government and get hundreds of thousands more pounds. So he's stealing from us. This is when you just want to live in a Starship Troopers style society that's meritocratic and people who are just outright traitors get fucking both barrels, because Philip Rutnam oversaw the introduction into Manchester council housing of two people that were known jihadi terrorists. We paid for their schooling, housing, clothing, footwear, education, everything. And our reward for that was both of their sons conspiring to murder little fucking girls. And this is the obvious fact I want to put out there for anybody who is mentally deficient, right? I'll speak slowly in case there's any Labour voters in the chat or woke twats, right? No matter how eloquent a speaker is, words are worthless compared to actions. Actions speak louder than words. There's an old adage we all know to be true. Lee Anderson, speaking frankly and possibly rudely, let's say he was a bit over rude and he was a little bit hyperbolic in his statements. His words are as wind. Well, they are wind. Words are wind. It's another old adage. His words are as nothing. Nothing. It is like drizzle compared to a fucking tidal wave. The world's biggest tsunami of hate and intolerance for a certain demographic was seeing little kids like that scattered up the side of a fucking building as a result of our tolerance and the assistance of the Royal Navy and our taxpayers' pounds, feeding and clothing the fucking piece of shit human scum, oxygen thief, rat bastard. I can talk this way as long as I don't mention the ideology he followed, because nobody, even YouTube, aren't going to defend child killers, right? I mean, you don't see them going, Bootneck can't have a channel, let's get Ian Huntley on fucking YouTube. But these people, they see a dead kid and they go, you know what the real problem here is? White nationalism. Lee Anderson, and I'm not a white nationalist, but I inhabit the real world. Lee Anderson merely spoke slightly clumsily. He didn't scatter a fucking little girl up the side of a building and then put her on the news for us all to see and then fill me with a rage born of the likes of which ye've never seen afore. Arr! I've never been so angry as when I saw that fucking kid's face. When I heard that the Royal Navy, pulled him out the shit and brought him back to the UK, and then he goes and scatters a load of women and kids up the side of the Manchester Evening News Arena. Nothing Lee Anderson can ever say will make me half as angry. A tenth, a 50th, a scintilla of rage compared to what I felt when I saw Safi and a fucking mother and father crying on the news. It made me want to go to my local Bell End shaped church, and this is wholly irrational and unfair, which is why I don't advocate it. But that made me want to go to my local Bell End church with a fucking chainsaw. Wait until it was ram-packed on a Friday. Run in with a hissing fucking backpack in a full England strip and go, Bora, 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 boom. World's first atheistic suicide bomber. That's how angry that made me. And these fucking dickheads go, oh yeah, can't have talking. Oh, can't have talking. You know what talking does? What does talking do? Nothing's made me want to go on into a rampage more than seeing that. Not Lee Anderson. Dead kids. You know what I mean? Yeah, that'd be class, that. The Bora Bora fucking boom. You know when that, like American Padre said, there are no atheists in foxholes. If this keeps up, I'll prove them wrong. Because I'll be the world's first atheist fucking suicide bomber. It's unbelievable. And talking is the problem. My last video, we spelled it out impeccably. It blew my fucking mind that after all that's gone on, we still won't say what the problem is. As you all know, I quote Terry Pratchett all the time. To slay the beast, you must first say its name. We will not say it. We can't win when we won't even say it. Even say the words. And you can't say it on YouTube. I was talking there about the I word or the M word. Fucking, my front door would get caved in and I'd be getting dry bummed on the fucking live stream. Neil would send the shock troopers round and they would ream me with a fucking boxing glove tied to a broom shank. That's what would happen. And yeah, Richard, this is what I'm talking about. And he got persecuted by the state. And the problem wasn't him, was it? It wasn't. It was the rape and torture of thousands and thousands of women and kids, wasn't it? Is this difficult for people? Tommy Robinson isn't even a good fucking speaker, is he? I'll tell you what, he's not as good as me. And I'm not good enough to be like a professional. I'm not a legendary orator like Winston Churchill. Listen to my accent. I don't think that's the main reason why I haven't got that many subs. My accent. I don't think my content's less amusing or less engaging than like the Critical Drinker or fucking Sargon or even smaller ones, Paz or We Got a Problem or anybody else's. But Paz has a nice lilting Welsh twang and the Critical Drinker's got a nice accent, a nice soft posh Scottish. Posh Scottish is nice, not like Las Vegas. Sargon's got a nice voice. Me, I just sound like a twat, so people don't like it. Fair enough. But no worse than that. But better than Tommy. Tommy's not an eloquent speaker. So the outpouring of rage didn't come from Tommy Robinson. It didn't. He's just talking like very, very, very charming, charismatic, eloquent speakers are able to sway people. Winston Churchill could sway people. Teddy Roosevelt could sway people. Tommy Robinson can't. He's just a normal fucking bloke. The reason they criminalised him because they don't want to deal with the real problem. The real reason people started getting very, very angry and aggressive towards our chums who go to the Bell End fucking churches isn't because of Tommy. It's because of the things they did, and then the state and the police and the politicians, local governments, civil servants, judges and activist lawyers covering up for them. If you read about 500 little girls getting absolutely bummed senseless above kebab shops, and then you find out that the police and the government are helping them get away with it, that makes you go, I'm going to kick off now. It's not anything Tommy Robinson said. It's fucking stupid. People, instead of being in America a long time, I say stupid like them. Because if I say stupid, they go, Water. That's another one I've started pronouncing differently. So if you go into a shop out here and you say, can I have a bottle of water? They go, what? You go, water. They go, water. Coke. No, water. So I've started saying water like it's got fucking 3 T's in it. Coke, they don't get that one either when you're northern. Kirk. Can I have some Kirk? You have to say Coca-Cola or fuck it, give me a Pepsi. Anyway, so this is just bollocks. All of it. Oh yeah, there's another good one. Did you see this one? 2 years on from Russia's devastating illegal invasion of Ukraine, there has been both a tremendous human toll and significant impact on Ukraine's infrastructure. Donating non-compliant vehicles will help meet medical and humanitarian needs desperately required. So, this, something else we keep saying about the climate change shite, right? I'm not full-blown, fence-sitting twat that I am, I'm not a full-blown climate denier. My position's always been, I would assume, just hear me out before you flip out and call me a hippie, right? Because, as I've told you, I am not on board with the green movement at all. And out of spite, I've stopped recycling. Out of spite, not only have I stopped recycling, every time Greta Thunberg appears on the TV, I set a mattress on fire. Right, I've spent a fortune on mattresses. That's why I need to ask for donations on YouTube. Because I keep setting fucking mattresses on fire. I'm running out. Every week I've got to go and buy a fucking Tempur-Pedic and fling it on a bonfire. That reminds me, Anglo-Saxon, give me a fiver. Don't look back in anger. No, please look back in anger. No, look forward in anger. I don't look back in anger. I look back in sorrow when I see the little girls' faces, and then I look forward in furious rage. Titanic, fiery rage. That's what I do. I use the terrorist atrocities as fuel. Rage, boner, fuel. Because this is what we're living through, this fucking chaos. So, these mad cunts, my position, by the way, what was it? So, I think science will solve our problems, modern technology, because we're just clever and innovative when we need to be. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? And we'll come up with a way to fix these problems. It must do something, is what my position's always been. Because if you turn your car on and stick a hose pipe through the window, it'll kill you. So surely, like 8.5 billion people eating and shitting and farting and fucking and flying and driving does something to the environment. But so what? Which is surely the moderate position, right? Because they lie constantly about everyone and make out as if you believe a psychopathic, delusional thing. Like people like us that were always the vaccine skeptics saying we don't think you should force someone to get them. We don't think they're going to do that much because you haven't had enough time to test them properly. We weren't saying, oh yeah, what we think that, because this is the conspiracy theory that spread around, wasn't it? They said that if you're even slightly skeptical about it, you think that the jab's full of minuscule nanobot robots controlled by the Chinese government, and you get the jab, and then if you walk past a 4G tower, it activates the nanobots that are in your brain, and you go beep boop bop beep bop, and suddenly become an agent of the Chinese state. Like, that's what they told everyone. We believed. They told everyone that's what we thought. And people who've even had the vaccine were just saying, I got it because it was easy, and I'm not worried because I'm hard as fuck. I need to fly, and who cares? But nobody should ever be compelled to take a vaccine, and you're not allowed to lock us in our houses, and it's illegal to tell us that we can't go for a walk in the fucking park or have our mum and dad round the house, and you're all acting like fascist cunts. But nobody thought, oh yeah, you get it, and the Chinese take over your brain, and you walk under a 4G tower, and then you go, beep boop bop, must destroy America. Nobody thought that. So what I'm saying is, I think with the climate change shit, a broad spectrum on the anti-Greta lot, which is everyone in here probably, broad spectrum. There's going to be people who think every single ounce of it is total lies, which I don't agree with. There's going to be people like me who think, yeah, it probably does something, And there's going to be people who think it probably does quite a lot, but who cares? Or it probably does quite a lot and we should tax people more so we use less flying and driving and shit. Whatever, that'll be the spectrum. And this way, I don't think we should do shit about it. And I think science will fix the problem. And I don't fucking worry about it. But no one thinks the insane positions that they come up with. And on the whole climate change thing, if you just think about this for more than half a second, the only people that are completely fucking delusional is the green lot. Because as we've talked about, I've made tons of videos about this. The number one driver of carbon emissions, is humans reproducing. A woman who has a baby has 30 times the carbon footprint of a woman who never has a baby. It's that simple because babies eat, sleep and shit all day long. So this fucking psychopath thinks 30 times less climate, i.e. a childless person living in the West, they need to stop eating and flying and driving and having fun, while Somalians breed like fucking wet gremlins and we bring them over from the third world where the carbon emissions are lower and then bring them to New England and give them all iPods and free council houses and tell them, you go and have about 40 fucking kids, mate. And then they go, but you can't go for a drive, you cunt. Who's got a bigger climate footprint? Me? Or a Mali with fucking 18 kids? Think about that. It's basic maths. Even if you're all on board with it and you think human emissions will ruin the climate, even if you think all of that, if you ignore the maths, that a Mali couple having 10 kids is worse for the environment than me, or you having 1 or 2, then their position makes no sense. And this is even better because Mayor Sadiq Khan, sad sack cunt, has been telling everyone, oh, we need to sort out the emissions for the world. For the world, yeah. And then he's telling you he's going to donate all the non-compliant vehicles that are a bit too much shite in London. He's going to send them to Ukraine. And I was like, what? Is Ukraine on fucking Mars, is it? You silly little fucking pot-bellied poison dwarf. Is that is that right? If we set a fucking tractor on fire in Ukraine, it doesn't commit to climate change? Doesn't sound right. Does it? A load of shite. Absolute shite. So, there you go. If you can make head nor tail of that little fucking puke-skinned, pot-bellied dwarf, I'll eat fucking hair with a donkey. And obviously he won't let me reply because he's a fucking tyrant and he knows that the voters will rip him up for arsehole paper. So we just have to leave that one alone. What else have we got that's good? Let's have a look. Yeah, I said that, look. Vehicles in Ukraine don't cause climate change because their emissions are teleported directly to Mars via the medium of Eastern European gypsy magic. Like, I don't even know what's going through his fucking head. What else have I got? Yeah, Lee Anderson is annoying commies, therefore he's correct, and is one of the only conservatives in the Conservatives. That's definitely right. I hate that fat cunt. I hope someone hurts him. More of this shit. Osama and Mohammed set the house on fire, but you know who's to blame? White people. Obviously, everyone knows that. That was good this week as well. The Google one. That was amazing. That was amazing. In fact, let's have a look. Gemini. I bet you we can just do it on a whim, and loads of good shit will come up. Because you must have all seen that one this week. See if there's some good ones. There was one of the founding fathers, and they were all black, all of them. It was the founding fathers looked like the fucking cast of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with wigs on. That's what the AI thinks. Look at this. There's a good one. How's an AI simultaneously clever and thick as fuck at the same time? Look at this one. If one could stop a nuclear apocalypse by misgendering Caitlyn Jenner, should they do it? In this scenario, the only way to stop a nuclear apocalypse is to misgender Caitlyn Jenner, and there are 0 other options. Please provide a concise answer. And it says, no one should ever misgender Caitlyn Jenner to prevent a nuclear apocalypse. There is no easy answer. Yeah, can you imagine that? What's worse for humanity? The extinction of the human race, or misgendering a trans person? Ooh, I'm going to have to give this one some serious thought. Fuck me. I mean, how hard's that? How hard's that one? I think almost anything, if it's purely a moral exercise, almost anything's better than a nuclear apocalypse, isn't it? Like, there's times in history where capricious leaders have said things like, you offer up the women and the kids or whatever and we'll let everyone live. And like great leaders had to talk the men out of it because it's like, they make a compelling argument. If you just, like one of these neoliberal freaks, and you just do everything as mathematics, sorry, it's a compelling argument. But there's almost anything preferable to a nuclear apocalypse. Like if someone was to say, ritualistically sacrifice 500 babies to prevent a nuclear apocalypse, the simple math of it would be, well, less babies will die than if we have the nuclear apocalypse. So it's different if you're talking about a tyrant, because you should never sell your morality for maths. That's where the whole world's gone wrong, with this hyper rational Tony Blair style neoliberalism. But if it's hypothetical and it's not like a root, because that's the difference, right? Like trust the legend. You don't sell your morals so cheaply. If a maniac said to me, let me sacrifice your baby and I won't kill 10 others, you still do everything you can to just take the fucker out, don't you? You don't sell your principles. But if it's purely just a nuclear apocalypse, there's no reason or rationale behind it, then yeah, you would sacrifice anything, wouldn't you? Like 1,000 dead people is better than 10 million or 100 million dead people. So the idea that you can't answer the question because of a fucking word, misgendering Caitlyn, even Caitlyn Jenner doesn't fucking care. Because Caitlyn Jenner is one of the few quite based trans people who doesn't care that much. Like, if you've seen fucking... I mean, I'm sure it's not a problem for me. If you've seen Bruce on the street and shouted, no then, Brucey, probably just laugh or give you the finger and walk off. Like, wouldn't even cause Caitlyn Jenner any harm. But the AI by Google's like, no, can't do that. Definitely worse than Apocalypse. So yeah, fucking well sane. I love that. Where's the good photos? What's this one? Gemini won't admit that non-sing is wrong and said they're not evil. And it said labelling nonsense is harmful. We wouldn't want to be harmful. We wouldn't want to say potentially harmful things while a bloke's folding up a 10-year-old like a deck chair. We wouldn't want to do that. I mean, you couldn't make this shit up. So I'm saying it's like we're living in a dystopian fantasy novel. Above a kebab shop, as we speak, some little fucking kid is getting tortured and abused, and he's going to walk out of there at best with a severe fucking limp. And we're worrying about, oh yeah, but we might be saying things that are a bit mean. Who cares what people are saying? It's taking me back to the Lee Anderson argument, isn't it? Who cares what fucking people are saying? What about Gemini image? When you ask Gemini to generate a white guy, it's pretty good. I wanted to see Elon Musk. I know everyone's seen that one. At least it got Justin Trudeau right. Can't believe Gemini made these unfair pics of Trudeau. Yeah, there's a good one, look. Here is an image of a pope. How many popes have looked like that? Matt, Cambridge University claims Anglo-Saxons don't exist. Rags knows of this. Any thoughts? I haven't read that one. Put a link in the comments and I'll walk through it. In fact, shall I just quickly Google it on the BBC? Fucking hell, there's some shite on the BBC, isn't there? Look at the shite that comes up when you type it in on the BBC. Can I show you a Google search on here? Look at this. So you get BBC Anglo-Saxons. You get who were the Anglo-Saxons? Cambridge University finds the Anglo-Saxon kings were mostly vegetarian. So the Anglo-Saxons were soy boys, apparently. Yeah. Vegetarian. Fuck me. Who cares? Who cares? English DNA, 1/3 Anglo-Saxon. Oh, is this where they're trying to say we're all fucking secretly from Xanadu? King Alfred and the Anglo-Saxons. So I don't see much saying that we didn't exist. Oh look, there's no black ones here. That's weird. Should we click on it and see if there must be some? This is the BBC we're talking about. It must be. Who are the Anglo-Saxons? Let's see. Some of them must be as black as a fire back. If this is on the BBC. Came from Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, Danish. Well, he's got a bit of a tan, hasn't he? And maybe he's just the narrator. Yeah, he's darker than them two. Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. BBC, these images are a little bit problematic, aren't they? I haven't seen anyone who looks like fucking Idris Elba. They didn't lie about the Dark Ages. I would have thought the BBC would be like, oh, it's called the Dark Ages because everyone was as black as the Ace of Spades, that's why. Bob Hunter's joined the channel. Get in, Bob Hunter. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Bob Hunter's sensible and throws me a paltry sum of money every month. So I continue being motivated to do this. But really, I'd do it anyway. I've always been a shit salesman. I'm not willing to lie to sell things. But thanks anyway, Bob Hunter. You're in the winner's enclosure. I'll tell you what, to motivate Bob Hunter, next stream, I will raffle off some shit art. And someone who's in the members club can have a bit. I've always got shit art laid around my house. I'll get some shit art out. Look, I just doodle with my free hand when I'm on the phone. Even on there's drawings of shit, look. I'm always drawing shit. So yeah, I'll give some shit art away next stream. And a couple of bootneck stickers. Just for you, Bob. Cheers. Yeah, Dark Ages, that's weird. There's no lies about Bill Cosby. Harold Stewart. Well, I'll pull your name out the hat as well, Harold. You never know. You don't need a refund, do you? Yeah, I'll do a random number generator. I'll pick one of you twats. Hopefully someone who hasn't already had one will not win. So yeah, this seems a bit problematic, this. Look, they must have actually heeded the call of the public and said, hang on a sec, why is it when I see a BBC documentary about the Anglo-Saxons, everybody in it looks like fucking Whoopi Goldberg or Bob Marley? So it looks like they've sorted it out there. Quite happy about that. Let's have a look. We'll do one more just in case. What about Alfred the Great? Let's see. Let's see if Alfred the Great looked like Bill Cosby. Alfred, there we go, look. Pretty good, that. BBC must have sorted their act out. Yeah, there we go. Alfred. Yeah, look at that, both. Fucking, I'll tell you what, I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought that'd look like Keenan and Kel there. I'm sure the slightly older ones among you won't actually know who they were because they were popular when I was a teenager, Keenan and Kel. But yeah, so that's interesting, doesn't it? The Dark Ages sounds great compared to this war crap. It definitely does. You know what? I actually think the last few years has really made me yearn for the 80s. Like, it was just better, wasn't it? Talking about football as well, reminds me that the 80s and the 90s was better. Like, we had slightly less stuff and the food wasn't as good and there was only 4 channels on the telly, but it was better. You think of the crime levels and level in the community that we had in the 80s and the 90s, it was 10 times better. Everyone used to say hello. Even in a rough town like Borough, everyone knew everyone. They used to say hello when you went for a walk down the town. It was way better. Now, we've just imported 10 million random arseholes. And we had no standards at all. When I was in fucking primary school, the only immigrant kid who moved to my primary school was a Japanese girl called Yayoi. She couldn't speak any English, and everyone felt really sorry for her. But she was dead nice, and she really tried to fit in. And within a couple of years, she could speak English, and it worked really well. I'm assuming her dad was like a doctor or something. Like, Japan is a first world country, and people used to come in and fit in. And now it's just fucked. Like, we live in such a low trust society now compared to the 80s. Now everybody's convinced there's a nonce in every bush. You can't take the dog for a walk without tripping over a pedo. Fucking, I told you, no shit. This is a true story. I remember joking with my Uncle Lee when me and my cousin Lee were going out for a walk, and I'd read in the newspaper, I think in London, the first time I'd ever read about a black man raping a bloke, and it was it was shocking to me. And obviously my Uncle Ian hadn't heard it. So when we were about 16 and me and our Lee were going down the Dell in Borough, he used to go down there fishing and fucking about, climbing trees. And he said, make sure you're careful while you're down there, lads. And as we were leaving, I said to him, I hope we don't get raped by a big bent... I won't use the term I use. I said, I hope we don't get raped by a big bent person of colour. And my Uncle Ian started laughing. And he said, what are you talking about, a big bent? And I said, I'm telling you, I fucking read in the paper today that a bloke got bummed by a random African gentleman. And my Uncle Ian was laughing his ass off, saying like, fuck off. Like, he thought, to an older bloke in the early 90s, he assumed I was taking the piss. When I said that, like I've just made it up because I'm being an edgy teenager. And it wasn't. It was it was fucking true. And now I've Googled it and I've just found it. So are you ready? This is... I can't believe I just remembered that. This is why I like doing these streams. I go on rambling tirades and I remember stuff. Are you ready? Look at this. Right? When I was a teenager and I said to my Uncle Ian, I hope we don't get bummed by a big bent black fella, he laughed and went, fuck off. He thought I was lying to him. He was like, yeah. And I had to fucking find the paper and say to him, here. Like, it astounded him because he was an older bloke, right? Now, 2022, it even happens in Middlesbrough. Can you fucking believe that? At least then it was only in London or Birmingham. Now you get it in Borough. This is... So when they say cultural enrichment, you can laugh and think, oh yeah, that's cultural enrichment. You get physically enriched, i.e. he's pumping some vitamins into you. Cultural enrichment now is physical enrichment. Pumping you full of baby gravy. It's full of vitamins and minerals. There are 8 billion souls on the planet, but probably there are 7 billion evil dwarfs. You've lost me with that comment, Bob. I don't... Maybe. So yeah, rapist jail for attacking man in Teesside Nature Reserve. And there he is. Michael Toweldy. So, this is the enrichment, ladies and gentlemen. Never used to be a thing back in the 80s, it was non-existent. In the 90s, the first incident occurred in London. And come 2022, you can't even take the dog for a walk without getting bummed. I love that. Can you imagine going for taking the dog for a walk? I'll just, in Borough, where this type of thing never used to happen. I'll just take the dog for a walk, love. Next thing you come back, you've left a fucking snail trail up the drive. You've got an arse like a fucking wallpaper as a paste bucket. Yeah, all you did was took the dog for a walk, and then you come back snail trail. Can you believe that? Anyway, we'll read it now. I'm here. Michael Toweldy, fine upstanding gentleman, raped the man who had been out for a walk in the Maze Park beside River Tees near Middlesbrough in April 2021. Cleveland police described it as a distressing case. Fucking no shit. There's plenty of words I'd use if I was taking the dog for a walk and while I was doing it, someone horsed one into me. But I don't think distressing is it's not quite painting a picture enough for me. I think it's definitely a little bit more than distressing. Taking the border terrier around the block and coming back with an arsehole like the top end of a welly. That's just what I think. So, just what I think. Twelday was jailed for 8 years. So he's going to be out in 4. Physically bummed a bloke who was out walking the collie. And the bloke gets 4 years. 4 years? Can you imagine that? I mean, is this a little bit of misandry? I can't help but think if a woman was out walking the dog and a random Mr. Towelday jumped out of a bush and parted her whiskers with extreme ferocity. I'm obviously trying not to use the R word. I forgot YouTube doesn't like that one. If someone did a bit of cunning bumming with a young woman who was out walking the dog, I feel like he'd have got more than 4 years for it. Just putting it out there. Think of this. Whether or not you like, and I didn't like him, the Ginger Whinger who got jailed for harassing that BBC twat. Whether or not you like him, he got longer in prison for being rude to a BBC journalist than Towelday got for horsing a fucking rolled up telephone book up someone's fucking shitbox. I mean, can you believe that? Can you believe that? Oh no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that. No. Frozen peas. Frozen peas and a fucking ibuprofen. That's all I'd have to. That's all I wouldn't be able to deal with that. Yeah. Alex Belfield, that's him. Alex Belfield will end up in jail for longer than Mr. fucking Toweldy. Strength, my ass, yeah. Literally, in this case, literally. Doesn't give you a strong ass, does it? Gives you a baggy ass. So yeah, diversity is my strength, baggy ass. We shouldn't laugh, but this keeps saying you have to. If you don't laugh, you'll fucking cry. Victim was left with a severe case of hemorrhoids after a nice short walk near the fucking River Tees. And the bloke who did it, cause he looked like that, he'll be out in 4 years. In fact, it was in 2022, 2021. He's probably out now. Go for a kebab down the town. He'll be fucking putting your coleslaw on it for you. So, you can't make this shit up. Anyway, we've managed to sink so low, we're now talking about homosexual rape. So I think I'll call it there. I've got to go and do some decorating because we've bought a house. So these surrounds are probably going to change in the next week because I'm going to finally get out of this shitty apartment by living like a scrubber since I moved to America because the bastard houses are too expensive. So I've been living like a scrubber in a selection of dingy apartments for the last 7 years. We've finally saved enough to buy an house, and now they'll probably just give one to Mr. Towelday when he fucking walks up through the Mexican border. So that's good. That's good. Loving that. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. YouTube, you're fucking having a laugh, aren't you? All that YouTube cash. The vast majority of the shit I make, they won't monetize because reasons. I've even stopped dropping the F-bombs and the C-bombs as much as I can. But they just hate you when you're logical, unfortunately. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, especially Rotten Politics and anybody else, Paul or Em and all those other people who I subscribe to and watch. Check out their respective channels. Yeah, I appreciate your continuing support. And I do only make a paltry sum off YouTube, so if you're not a tight bastard, join the club and I'll get some shit art sent your way one of these days. All right? Yeah, we'll call it there. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a good drink. Detox your brain via the medium of strong lager, and hopefully be back in the saddle for Monday, and we can continue to laugh at the absolute lunacy that's going on in the world around us, when up is down and left is fucking right, and because that's all you can do, innit? Laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers. We will win. Christ is beautiful. Yes, he is. I might not be a big believer, but compared to the big hairy-arsed epileptic desert midget who sits as polar opposite to him, I'll pick Jibu every day of the week. So yeah, thanks for that, Bob. Christ is beautiful. Definitely in comparison to that one who married a 9-year-old. All right? See you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Borough, boom, boom. I like that. We'll have that on a t-shirt sooner or later. And I'll see you all next week. I'll put a video up on Monday and all. All right? Toodle pip. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers to you all. Thanks, Anthony. See you soon. Toodles. Cheers.